Straw Hut Media.
Hello on the Rockers. Life is not a drag on this episode as we welcome drag race and drag superstar Pandora Boxx as we talk about life beyond the runway and her new dance album, Boxx, with guest co-host, the sassy drag queen herself, Jordan Jayro, and me, your sassy host with the sassy most. Raise a glass, let the drinks begin. It's on the rocks.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, a place where too glam to give a damn. Drag is not a crime unless it's me in drag. Whoop. This Thursday, I am your MC at Out at the Fair at Washington County Fair, July 25th, on the main stage with a drag show, live performances featuring American Idol's David Hernandez. Go to outatthefair.com for tickets and info. I've never been to Portland, but I guess the gay strip clubs, they can get fully nude. And that's news to me, so check my Instagram. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email, book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris, I don't care, I'll show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. Send us your comments, guest requests, and we got your guest questions for tonight. It's going to get a little heated. The show's presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 386 episodes at ontherocksradioshow.com for free. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Out.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and Channel 31 on the East Coast. Hello, East Coast. We proudly tape at UBN Go Studios, your one-stop place for podcasting. Let's get this show on the road. Joining me as my guest co-host and my designated driver today so I can drink. Jordan Jayro has been an LA-based drag queen for 7 years now. She's the host of the podcast Hey Girl. She's known for her comedic performances, hosting and stand-up skills, and sickening looks. She wrote that herself. She pops up all over Southern California and was most recently featured a number of hilarious interviews from DragCon on her social media. So you have to check that out. Please welcome Jordan Jayro. Hi. Let's get you a little bit closer to your microphone. So I just have to ask you about your name. And Tony, it's misspelled, by the way. It's Jordan. Jordan, hey.
We're changing it.
But I have to ask you about your name because you didn't get very creative. You're just like, Jordan, look at it.
I was joked that I was far too busy doing drag to come up with a name. Unfortunately, I was just too booked. Sorry, I can't be Lisa Newcar.
Booked and blessed. But why didn't you do this like florally draggy name? It's just Jordan.
I just think it's so fierce to just be Jordan.
Okay.
You know? And when I first met Morgan McMichaels, like, you know, when you're like a booger queen, you go to Mickey's in drag and she brings you up on stage. She goes, Your name is Jordan? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, that's fierce. It's like Madonna or Cher. It's just Jordan.
Let me guess, was she drunk?
Well, it was a day ending in the letter Y.
Yes. So she was.
12 a.m. and 12 p.m. Yes.
I have seen her perform in OC and she's poured a whole vodka bottle all over the audience.
Yeah.
Like she
gets
gets crazy.
Professional. She's legit. We stand.
So I just have to ask, you went to DragCon,
Yes.
you did a bunch of interviews, and you hold your own against these queens from the show, from Drag Race.
Yeah.
How did it feel to kind of intrude on, because you just go right on up and you don't have any self-confidence issues at all. You just nose your way in there.
Well, that's the great thing about being totally unknown and obscure is that I can just sort of do whatever, and if I flop, no one's going to know.
How are they going to know?
Yeah, and I get to mooch off of their fame and success.
Okay.
So why not?
What was your favorite part of this year's DragCon?
You know, I got a really big interview that I've always wanted to get. And it's going to be the last video I post.
Can you say who, or is it's a surprise?
No, it's Bianca Del Rio.
Oh, okay.
So it's me and Bianca Del Rio screaming at each other for 2.5 minutes.
Love it.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be coherent, but I had the best time. And she's like a legend.
I love it. I love when two bottoms fight. It's so fun to watch.
We rubbed butts. We scissored. It was great.
I'm sure you did. Let's have a guy.
Yay! We had a squirting contest.
That's so nasty. That's the kind of classy show we have. I'm so glad I'm drinking. Well, thank you for being my designated driver today.
Anytime.
Make sure I don't say anything that'll get me canceled from Drag Race. What would your workroom slogan be, or what would your tagline be when you walk in?
I have one that has never been done, and I will not say, but I will tell you my options.
Okay.
The second options were, I'm only here for the refreshments. Or I just walk in and go,
and that's it?
and just, yeah.
And then the other, like the editing will show the other queens, and then that weird like drum thing.
Yeah,
that
I'll just be standing because they make you hit your mark and stand.
Yeah.
I would just giggle and then stand there.
Okay. All right.
And just wait.
Okay.
But those are the two the one that I actually would use. I'm saving, but I'll tell you after.
Okay. And how many
really
years
good.
have you auditioned?
Never. What is it? The cool thing that girls say? I don't audition. I'm waiting for them to call me. Even though they're all sending tapes every year. Girl, calm down.
Yeah.
You're renting like full-on photo studios. You're paying thousands when you could just. Most girls shoot it on an iPhone in their bedroom and they get on. So.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of hot topics that we're going to discuss. Let's bring our lady of the hour, shall we? Pandora Boxx, drag superstar, comedian, TV personality, who became a national sensation making her debut in RuPaul's Drag Race second season, all seasons of Drag U, and the first and sixth seasons of All Stars. She's appeared on numerous other TV shows and appeared on stage with Miley Cyrus for the VMAs. She's a playwright as well. Actually wrote her first play in the 5th grade. She's released a number of musical hits, including the hot off-the-press dance album Boxx, which is perhaps her most intimate project to date, that hit number 3 on the iTunes dance charts. Entertainment Weekly named Pandora as their America's Next Drag Superstar. And here she is. We're getting her all liquored up. Please welcome Pandora and her box.
The crowd goes wild.
The crowd cheers in anticipation. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous after that intro. It made me sound very important to myself. So
But when you look at your breadth of work and playwright and all this other stuff, and the dance album hitting the charts, which we know how many queens are putting content out there, so that's huge.
It's kind of crazy because Brad Hammer, who directed the
Love
music
Brad's
video,
work.
yeah, Brad is great. I've known Brad. Brad and I became MySpace friends.
Oh
That's
my
how long
God.
before Drag Race. That's how long I've known Brad Hammer, and then like getting to meet him. And then when he was working with Andrew Christian, he'd make me come and do videos. And he's like, "You're gonna dress up like a nun, and here's a bottle of Elmer's glue. You're gonna be a glue sniffing nun." And I'm like, "Sure." Well, first I'd be like, "Brad, all right, fine." So he's the one that told me, like, I didn't even know, like, I got a text message from him and he's like, I just randomly looked and it's number 3 in the dance chart.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really wild.
It's well deserved, but like I said, with every queen putting out content.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, I'm very proud and happy of this album because it's not typical drag queen music.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to sing about heels and nails and all of that stuff, I just didn't want to do that. I was like, let me go a little more personal. And
Well, it is very personal. Even though it's a dance album, there's some heartbreak in there. There's some growth. There's some adult struggle. There's all of this stuff that you kind of throw into this album.
yeah, I really was listening to like Robin and Sia, who like make these amazing dance songs. And when you really listen to them, you're like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, all right. Because Dancing on My Own, I love that song, but it's heartbreaking when you listen to it.
Yeah.
So I was inspired because I did a Kickstarter that got funded within 3 days.
Your fans love you. I have to say they have been loyal since day one, and they follow you everywhere.
They have. And so that inspired me to do it. And then my friend Brandon James Gwynn, who did Trixie's.
I love him to death. Number one, he's so cute. You need to look him up.
Oh, no. He's very cute. So also it's like I'm doing this album, I'm looking at him going,
Yeah.
all right, you're very cute. But we've known each other for a while.
He's
And
so talented.
He reached out and said, hey, anything you need. And then in the beginning, the album kind of went in different directions. And even though I had money, you still have the budget. And also, I would advise anyone that does a Kickstarter, like, please do your project right away, because otherwise you're going to get slammed with taxes when you can't write anything off.
Oh.
So that happened. So some of the money was gone.
Nobody would even think about that.
Yeah. Talking with him, and it was really, the first song I wrote on the album was Pill. And it's like a mixture of me, but with Alice in Wonderland references.
And it's like rock, too.
And when he got it, and then he was like, you're a really good lyricist. And I went, that's all anyone needed to say to me. And so it made me really go in with it. And he just, like, I would give him things and kind of say, this is kind of how I feel like it should sound. And he'd send it back like a demo. When he sent that demo back from Pill, I'm like, this is it. This is the direction. This is where I should go. This is who I should be working with. This is it.
And Pill deals with some of your adult struggles. Do you want to elaborate on that?
I mean a little because
Drink up some more.
No, I mean I kind of want people to take away what they want to take away with it, but it's also it deals with a subject I talked about on season 2 of Drag Race, which is, I mean, on TikTok we say unaliving, that yeah, and so it deals with that, and it also deals with, you know, trying not to, you know, it says take the bitter pill, and it's trying not to, you know, don't be bitter. It doesn't really get you anywhere. And I spent a few years, sometimes now, where you know you get bitter of other queens' success, because in season 2, all the things that queens are getting now was promised to me after season 2. Like everything, there's so many. I could give you an endless list of projects that fell through, but it just wasn't the right time for it.
It wasn't as mainstream and it wasn't as popular as it is now.
No.
That must be very bittersweet because, yes, we're so happy that drag culture has grown to such a level, but you kind of laid the foundation for other people to walk the path. That's got to sting a little bit.
Oh, it definitely does.
But at least you're honest about it.
The song's a little bit about that, yeah. And I'm certainly glad that drag has come that far. And I know I was on the season I was supposed to be on, because I think I would have been too bitter if I had not gotten on. And I did say if I didn't get on season 2, I was going to quit drag. So
really? Well, and you had interviewed RuPaul before Drag Race was even a thing, and you knew in your mind, and you kind of manifested itself that you would be working together.
Well, yeah, I was.
You did.
I was petrified. I was interviewing her because I think it was her. Oh God, "Looking Good, Feeling Gorgeous" was the song that was out, and it was the album for that. And I should really read my notes because now I'm definitely not being asked back. But I got to interview her, and I wrote for this magazine in Rochester, and I was really excited. And she was very sweet and lovely, and we talked much longer than the interview was supposed to be, so it was great.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, and it was when George W. Bush was president, and we talked about the movie They Live, which was with Rowdy Piper, and if you put on these special sunglasses, you could see the aliens all around. But it was really about like politics and everything, like not, you know, seeing what's really there. And we had a great conversation about that. At the end of it, she said, well, I hope I come across you in my travels. And in my head, I said, oh, bitch, you are. But I didn't say that to her. So I was like, oh, thank you. But in my head, I was like, no, I just knew something was going to happen.
And it did. It did. I want to rewind because we know a lot about you since you've been on the show, but I want to talk about that little boy growing up in New York. What kind of kid were you? Were you like the nerdy kid? Were you the musical theater kid? Were you the one that talked in class all the time? Like, what was happening? How did you get this sense of humor, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, you know, my mother thinks she's really funny, so and she often laughs at her own jokes, and so I'm like, oh, I think it's from there. I think a sense of humor, I don't know. I mean, I think I've had it, but it also is a defense mechanism when you're feeling ostracized. And I do know that I did get a report card. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I got a report card when I lived in Jamestown, New York. And I was Mikey then, and they were like, you know, he's great, he does this, but he's really chatty.
Do you know everyone on my report cards has that as the comment? It's excessive talking during class. Every single, even PE. And I'm like, what the hell was I saying in PE? Yeah,
that changed though when I moved to Olean, New York, and then I was getting picked on all the time, and then I was like really shy and sometimes painfully shy, and my mother to this day still sometimes answers questions for me because she used to have to do that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I'm like, Mom, I'm a little bit older now. You don't have to speak for me.
But you and your mom worked on a project. You wrote your first play when you were in 5th grade, and she directed it?
She did, yeah.
It was a Christmas show, right?
It was The Trouble with Christmas.
What was The Trouble with Christmas?
I don't remember. But the villain was called Gargamel because clearly I didn't know about copyright, and I really liked the Smurfs. But then in true Hollywood fashion, I wrote the sequel and did it the year later, and I fired my mother and I directed myself. And my mother,
that is a fierce 6th grader. Okay,
yeah, my mother is still bitter, and she told me, she's like, well, and it wasn't as good.
That was fresh.
She's not reviewing your play. You're grounded. You fired me. That is so funny. When I was in 5th grade for the talent show, I wrote a Star Trek parody called Starquacks.
Oh, I love it.
So we were both in Star Trek, you know.
Yeah, I wrote a song called Stars, which is
It's on the album.
not even thinly veiled. It's literally just about Star Trek.
Well,
and
we love
sci-fi
all things
and,
Star Trek and sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek, I would watch it. Like, I was always a night owl, and I would stay up at like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning when it was playing on TV.
All the reruns.
And watching it, and it inspired me because there was such a diverse group of people, and they all worked together, and it made me feel like, oh, it was inclusive.
And it was your chosen family. That's what always I got. So my mom raised me on Star Trek, and she would take me out of school when there was a new movie. Like, Star Trek was our jam. And it was because of that, you know, she was the black sheep of the family. I was the only kid. She was a single parent. That we only had each other family. So to be in space, I talk about this forever and ever, but you know, but it's family in space.
Yeah, I discovered it on my own. I don't think any of my family really watched Star Trek, but
Did you watch the new Star Wars Acolyte?
no, not yet.
Because you know it's being condemned because it's too woke. There's lesbians in it.
I mean, I also think the world is too woke. Like, why would you want to be accepting of everybody?
Amen, sister. Trump 2024.
That's when they keep saying it. I was like, oh my, do you understand what that means? Like, it just means like you're just accepting of people that are different from you. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, Star Trek, the whole thing is, you know, it broke barriers in terms of gender,
the
race.
racist and misogynist or the terrible Star Trek fans who like flip out about things on it. I'm just like, have you ever really actually watched the show?
Yeah, it's
like,
insane to me.
Since the original series.
Yeah. You've also talked about you had a very good relationship with your mom, but you've said things were kind of mixed with your dad. What was that like growing up, having kind of a complicated relationship?
Difficult. Yeah, I mean, now it's like it's a much better perspective now that I'm an adult. So I can say, yeah, he was an asshole. I didn't really like him. He had some good qualities, but yeah, I didn't really see much of it. But yeah, I don't know. He wasn't a nice person. He was nicer to other people aside from us. And he was not very nice to my mother.
That must have been very difficult.
Yeah, I'm sugarcoating it a little
I'm sure.
But yeah, it was interesting. But I think also, like, growing up, I didn't know that anyone was different. I mean, I had a best friend, Tommy, who lived in Olean, and he lived like basically down the street. So I spent a lot of time in his house. And that's when I realized that it was different because his parents didn't act the same. His dad didn't act the same. Like, his dad was a nice dad.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized, oh, my dad's not so nice.
When did you first kind of realize that maybe your sexuality and your identity was not like the other boys?
Oh, I was very naive and dumb. Well, more naive. Like, it was not till much later. I thought I liked girls. I'm not a gold star gay. I think that's what they call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't even know what the names they were calling me. I didn't know what they really meant. And then I, had sex with a girl and was like, this is sex.
That poor girl.
And
she's watching you on Drag Race.
No.
Damn,
And,
you got away.
and I have actually, I do still talk to all the girls I did have sex with, which is not many, but
But more than one.
no, and actually,
There's
I
like
really
a fan club out there. It's like,
No,
have you slept with Pandora Boxx? Yes.
I
Call
apologize.
1-800.
I apologize to them, and then I did my first stand-up comedy show. I'd like to publicly apologize to the women I slept with because I know it was terrible.
You may be entitled to compensation.
Yes,
Well,
for
she apologized to
sure.
you. They kicked you out of the boat.
Because I was just like, and then I touched a penis and went, oh,
you're like, there it is.
Oh my God,
There
this
we
all makes
go.
sense now.
So, what was your coming out story then?
It's kind of like, I don't know. I came out and I told my friends, and they were like, yeah. I think one of my friends was like, oh my God, I'm shocked. All the rest of them were like, duh. But when I told my mother, because I came out and then Darian made me do drag, I saw her doing drag and I wanted to do it. So at 19, I came out. I started drag within a couple months. So I don't even know what it's like to be out and not Pandora Boxx. Like I've been her since I was 19. And so I told my mother, I'm gay. And she's like, oh, I've always known. And then I had to be like, and I do drag. And she thought I was a prostitute.
Damn. Double homicide.
Yeah, but then I took her to a drag show and they're like, oh, you Mama Boxx? Here's your VIP table. Here's your free drinks. And then after that, she's like, oh, I love drag. And now every show she comes to, she's like, do I get the VIP treatment? Yes, mother.
Well, and she must be incredibly proud to see that this has become your career. Like you are a drag superstar.
Yeah, she is. She's good. But you know what? My father-in-law... He's the one that name drops me the most. He's always like, hey, I'm Pandora Boxx's father-in-law. Like, can I get a free drink? Like, he's always the one saying it.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, go for it.
What was your first professional gig in drag and how did it go?
I don't know. We had to do...
And 19, that's so young for drag.
I don't think you can legally do drag. Right?
Yeah, we could go into bars, but then you would have big, like, giant X's on your hands,
Yeah.
and so you'd have to, like... But as a drag queen, I could get away with not having them on there. And, I don't know. I remember doing a show, and it was Aggie Doon, who was a queen in Rochester, and she was hosting the show and asked me to come do a number, and she paid me. She gave me $9, and I was like, oh my God, I'm rich. Wow, thank you for paying me. Because I had, like, you just did drag to do it. It was fun and all this, and my first show didn't really go that well. I guess my advice to young queens is, if you're going to do drag for the first time, don't do a song that no one knows with a 6-minute remix of
Oh
it.
my God, no.
Work.
Even if they do know the song, even if they know you, don't, unless it's a brunch show and it's a huge venue, don't do a 6-minute remix of the song.
Yeah. Word to the wise. We were talking about like the current explosion of drag. Do you think we're at maybe a crossroads where there's too much drag? Is drag becoming too commercial? Is it too overexposed? I mean, we have Drag Race in Ethiopia now, and there's 2 drag shows every single hour in every single city now. Is that too much?
Yeah, I have this rule, and occasionally I break it, which is if I've had some drinks, I'm not allowed to post on social media. But I did the other night, and I was like, there's too much drag, period. And then I woke up the next day, and somebody was like, oh, God, Pandora's in her Gia Gunn era. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I wrote it after. I was like, girl, I was just tired from DragCon. I made this post. But it's also because, that show I lost 3 times on, it doesn't end. Like, I'm just like, one is not over, and then another one starts, and then another one starts, and I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think there might be a little too much. A little oversaturation of drag.
And talking about your social media, the emails I got is people love how outspoken you are and that you're not afraid to speak your mind. But as we know, we're in cancel culture. Plus, when you're part of the Drag Race family, you kind of have to watch your P's and Q's.
And that's why I have a rule that if I'm a little tipsy, I'm my own self rule: do not post. And I'm pretty good about it. And that one I was like, I don't need to delete it. I'll just explain it. Like I was just like, there's too much drag, and because they announced another Drag Race season, and I was like, girl, this one is uneven. This one finished.
It's like,
and then they're shooting 5 more. Like I know they're shooting all these other ones, and I'm like, oh my good God.
And it's like international all stars now.
And I'm just like, and now I'm so many seasons later, and I just did it, and they're like, are you coming me back to All Stars? I just did it. But now for like bookings too, it's like, oh my God, I have to be on season now if they're gonna book me.
Yeah. Well, and how do you feel? Because I know that you do pop-up shows all over the place.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity for somebody that's not on Drag Race.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. The sort of the wage margin widens every year because, especially in LA, all the Drag Race girls live here. Yeah. So why would they call me when they can get whoever from whoever season because they live there? I'm much cheaper and sometimes better. So maybe that is a selling point. But it's true. They're like, all the girls come here. And I'm like, great. Now I'm competing with local girls and queens with fame and money.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Love my odds.
Well,
But I'm
I think
here.
you're fabulous, and
I think you're fabulous.
I'm always entertained when you perform.
You're like the first Drag Race girl that was ever nice to me. Yeah. Doesn't say a
well, that
lot,
makes
but,
me
you know.
makes me go, oh, I'm glad I was nice to you. Which, and then
I
I'm
didn't
like,
deserve
oh,
We know that there are
God.
queens out there that are not nice. We know there are
Yeah.
a lot of queens out there that are.
Oh yeah, do you want me to
Absolutely
list them?
vicious.
Never
I have a
Whoa.
list too, girl. And you can always tell by somebody by how they act backstage before a show. Like how they treat the other people, how they treat the stage manager. Do they submit their music on time? I mean, even little details like that. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
you're a professional, you're not. So, hot topic, I got asked this a few different ways, is now it seems drag is all about being a social media pop star and people hiring stylists to even do their makeup. It's like, well, then what is the art of drag? Is it just surface and playing to the camera rather than we know drag started off by entertaining audiences in any way, shape, and form, but actually having to be funny, actually having to put on a good lip sync at the very least, or being able to host stuff. And now it's like, well, I look good on social media, so I must be a famous drag queen. But where's the skill and art?
Well, you know, I will have to say that my opinion has changed on this because I was very much like that, like, oh, you can't perform live. But now I think because there's so many different avenues and outlets to do different things that I do think there's going to be great drag queens that are great social media influencers or doing great things on social media, but they're going to be terrible live. So don't hire them to do a live show. So I think there's room for different types of drag like that. Before I was exactly what you were saying. I was like, bitch, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, well, let them just make their videos and talk about, I don't know, whatever nothing, because I don't.
Makeup tutorials.
Yeah.
Just like putting a little blush. Yeah.
I mean, some of these challenges are really showing us people can not be talented and still be on TV. I mean, doesn't it seem like the challenges?
What?
Well, it's almost
Well, I think
funnier
that's
that
true
way.
from when television started, that there's definitely people, and even outside of drag, there's definitely people that you go, how
Yeah.
the fuck are they?
But remember how on point
Famous.
Snatch Game usually was, and everybody usually pulled
Yeah.
out their A game. Now, if you have one standout from Snatch Game, it's a big deal. And it's like, remember when it all used to be good? I mean,
Well, you're talking to somebody who really did a shitty Snatch Game in All-Star 6, so.
let's talk about All-Star 6.
Yeah, let's not talk about that challenge, but
Yay.
yes.
But you have talked openly that perhaps you weren't in the right mindset and it just didn't kind of go your way and that you almost left halfway through the season.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We shot it during COVID, before vaccine.
Which we were all mentally fucked up during COVID anyway.
And we had 3 weeks to get ready in the pandemic. So thankfully, Angina had just done it. So she knew a lot of LA-based people that I didn't know and really, really helped me so much. And I'll always be grateful. But then it's like, then you're in a week in a quarantine and then they feed you. They were feeding me so much. I'm like, I can't eat all this food. I've just tried to lose some weight to get on this show. And then you're on it. And,
Some former queens are saying how they were underfed, but that's a whole other story.
well, I didn't say the food was good. Because I kept losing weight because the food on set was shit. And sorry if somebody catered it, and it's fine, come for me. But by the time we ever got it, because we couldn't go to the buffet to get it, we had to get it and bring it, and they brought it in this like thing that was supposed to keep it warm. It was always cold. Like every time it was always cold food. And it was just a lot. It was a lot to go back because my last experience on All Stars 1, which we don't speak publicly about anymore, but was not great, like totally not great. And so I was really like, I wanted the opportunity. I didn't know if they would ask me again, so I said yes. And also I wasn't really working because no one was working.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And we did not have a costume budget. Now they have costume budgets. We had to ask for money for the promo shoot, and they gave us $500 each. And I was like, girl, that's like
Nothing.
a wig.
It's nothing.
Yeah, it was.
That's a Party City
We
way.
had to fight. We had to fight for things, and we had a group thing, and I was like, if we all ask for it, we'll get something. And so everybody did.
And we know how much money this franchise is making. Like, that's not a secret to anybody.
Yeah. And they didn't have to start shooting when they shot. They were like proud. They were like, we're the first people back shooting. I'm like, you should really be proud of that.
Yeah.
That was fresh.
All right. So, yeah, a lot of it. My biggest goal was not to get eliminated first. And so when we're standing there in talent, doing the talent thing, and then we're on this lineup, I didn't know because I really thought Silky did a great job, and then they weren't really featuring her. But when I went down the lineup, I thought she did great. And so they were going down. I'm like, oh God, all right. So Pandora, what is your exit strategy? Because if you're in the bottom, you're just gonna have to die on stage. Like you're gonna have to die. You're gonna have to or fall off the stage, knock the lights off, fall off, just have an attack. Something's gonna have to happen, like where you just start something, because you can't be in the bottom.
Yeah.
And then I was in the top 3, and that was good. And I felt like in the beginning I was doing well, and then I just felt like it was the same story. Oh, Pandora's the girl that can't win.
And that plays on your mind. It fucks you up.
It does. And then they offered us, like, they call it Queen's Care now, where they had like a therapist on set. But I didn't trust.
I did not know that. That's good to hear.
I did not trust them because I thought they would be recording it and use it against me. So I never went. And it just became so much. And
you're separated from your husband, like.
Well, that's fine. No, it was a good.
It was a good break.
He was happy. He's like, finally, she's out of the house for a while, and it's just that it just was so much, and just going back again, and then feeling like I did well, and then feeling like it was exactly the same. They think of me exactly the same way. And that was tough. And then the COVID thing was tough. And then it was just, it's day after day after day after day after day. And it was just like, yeah, there were definitely 2 times I was going to tell the producer I'm going.
Wow. I mean, that's a huge decision.
Yeah. And then I didn't know about this game within a game. They never really told us what it was. And then finally they did. And then I said no at first because I was like, fuck this. And then they said, well, you'll get a per episode fee. I was like, girl, you should lead with that. You're going to give me money? Yes, I'll do it. But then I also said no because the call time was so early. I was supposed to be in full drag. And I was like, damn well, I'm not going to go on right away. You're going to make me sit in drag for like 2 to 3 hours, get up at 8 o'clock. And I had done 11 hours of interviews the day before that they never put in the show because I was like in it for like, probably a total of 10 minutes for 8 episodes. But I was like, no, like, I'm not doing it. I did not know that Kyria had not done it. And that's why they were so dead set on me doing it, because they did not want to have 2 people not do it. But then when they said, oh, she's won 6 lip syncs or whatever, then they had her behind that scrim, and RuPaul was like, who do you think it is? And I'm like, bitch, I know it's fucking Silky.
You could see the shape.
Girl.
And I just was like, Serena Cha-Cha?
Oh, God.
So I'm like, girl, I know. And also, Silky is I feel like it did really showcase her well. She's a great performer. I love her. But after she won so many, I was like, I could do the most amazing lip sync of my life. And they're definitely, I will never win this lip sync. So I just like, I'm going to do it. I'm good. But RuPaul did say, she's like, you gave her a run for her money. And I was like, she didn't need to say that. I never watched it, so I don't know what actually went in the show.
You never watched it?
I watched part of it, and then I was like, I'm good.
That's
I know
crazy.
what happens.
It's gotta be weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I could either. You lived it. It's fine.
No, I don't need to watch me not doing well in Snatch Game.
I
felt the pain. Also, I thought maybe I should die in this. Maybe I should faint. But it was hard concrete floors. And I was like,
that to be your
I might
ghost
break
outfit?
a hip if I fall down. But I really was, in my head, I was plotting a strategy there. In hindsight, I should have done that because that's all the people would have talked about.
I mean, it must be so much pressure when you know that it's just not going right and you cannot fix it in any way, shape, or form. And the lights are on, they're filming, and you know it's going to go viral.
And I got in my head, and I was already in my head because, like, all anyone talks about is my Carol Channing impersonation. Yeah. Even RuPaul, we were on the set, and she's like, well, you won the first ever Snatch Game. And I went, no, I didn't, Ru.
No, that was...
She's like, you didn't?
Wasn't it?
But
I went, well, you picked the winner, so it was not me.
So you agree? You
And
should've
she
won.
said she was
You
just
agree,
like
you're pretty.
Yeah.
she just like, oh well, basically you won. You know what I mean?
In her
I
mind,
was like,
you
is there a
won.
cash tip this
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not basically pregnant.
Yeah.
You either are or you aren't. That's
But
crazy.
queens are now talking more about the mental health aspect of doing drag because even though you get the audience applause and all of that, it can be very isolating because you're booking your gigs, you're running from gig to gig, you're doing your outfits, and yeah, you get that few minutes of adulation, but it's a difficult industry to be in. It wears on you physically and mentally. So how do you take care of your mental health while in the thick of all of this?
Well, I'm in therapy now, and I should have been in therapy more before All Star 6. I think it would have helped me prepare it. And, you know, I do have a loving and caring husband, but also he told me, I think it's time for therapy, bitch.
I think everybody should
He
be in
didn't say
therapy.
bitch, though, because he doesn't talk like a drag queen.
2 snaps and go to therapy. But I think everybody should be in therapy. And the
Yeah.
more stigma that we take away from paying attention to our mental health, why is there stigma of paying attention to our mental health?
I don't know. And they do offer Queen's Care, like, after you've left the show now, too.
I think that's so important, and I'm very
They
glad
had
to hear
to,
that.
because that show is... There's a track record of who that show has driven crazy.
Well, and the more recent seasons they have to, once you hear that piano come in, you know it's some tragic,
yeah.
that they're making them relive trauma from their lives. You know, and there's bullying that goes on in the workroom, and it's like, yeah, it's going to be social media fodder,
Yeah.
but somebody is suffering there. And I think that I mean, and I can say this, you know, I know you guys have,
Well,
you
I
guys
didn't sign anything.
loving the show. But I think that they're really trying to pinpoint that for ratings because they need fresh ideas. It's like, don't capitalize on somebody's trauma.
Well, now
a
it's
TV
kind of...
show.
now it's like... I mean, these queens have seen the show. They know it. It's almost like they're like, okay, and now in the script I wrote for myself, here's what's going to be
Yeah. You can see who's
very
calculated and who's
calculated.
not.
Because when I talked about suicide on season 2, and they had told me they wanted more, like I was holding back or something, and the only reason I talked about it is because in the context of whatever we were talking about, it fit, and I never really had talking about it openly like that, and I'm 1,000% glad I did, because I still have people coming up to me and talking about how much that meant to them. And I do know that I've helped people just by being honest about it.
100%. We know how high suicide rates are in the LGBTQ community. So, I mean, you know, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure you've saved many lives.
Yeah. And then, you know, after the show, then I was like, oh no, now I'm a therapist, because people were coming up and crying to me. And I'm like,
That's tough too, because
how
you have
do
to take
I-
all that
ooh,
emotion.
Wow. All right. I can't say, hey girl, bye. But you also have to be like very like present, like, and not that I can't be, but you know, I'm a little socially awkward, and I just always make sure I make eye contact and really like let the person know I am hearing you, even though I'm like, God, I want to say the right thing.
That's a lot of pressure.
I'm glad you're not dead.
I'm glad you were not dead to buy a ticket to come to the season
Yes.
3. Thank you.
All right, let's get to some of the fan questions.
Oh, Christ.
This has to do with Pandora, the persona. And like, as you've said, you started at such a early age. Pandora is your life. Do you ever feel overshadowed by your own persona? Like, where's Michael in all of this?
I would say not so much now, but yes, there definitely was a huge period of time where I hated Pandora, or really felt, like I felt lost in her and the character, and but not so much now. I don't know when there was a shift that I was like, it's still me and it's fine, and I don't care.
But that can happen. And, you know, we know at heart you're an artist in so many different forms. And it's like, if it all has to go through this persona, where's the artist within me?
Yeah, it was definitely like, it was a struggle for a while to just feel like nobody likes me and I'm going to cry in a corner. But yeah. And there was certain times where drag took over everything. And I was just like, didn't feel like I had a persona outside of that.
Even like at home, you know, I can just imagine all the wigs and the nails and the shoes and everything. It's just like, it's always there. It's taking up more space than like your guy sweats. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say that when I was going to leave Rochester, New York, we were either going to move to New York City or LA. And I kept getting more things in LA. And I was like, if we live in New York, I'm going to have to look at my drag all the time.
Yeah. You're
So
gonna
in
have to sleep on your
LA,
drag.
she had her own room. And we could just close the door and we're like, bye, bitch.
Yeah. We know some queens don't really establish themselves outside of Drag Race. You have built a lot of success. You've built your own brand. You've built your own empire on your own. The question is how did you go about doing that in creating, not relying on Drag Race and really establishing yourself? Some queens just cannot do it. They cannot exist if it doesn't have Drag Race in their poster, title, their life. They can't talk about anything else. They can't do anything else.
Well, I mean, I will. Drag Race will never leave me. Sometimes I'm on social media. I'm like, can I just have one day where I don't have to look at Drag Race? But it will never.
Or be asked the same question you've been asked so many times.
Yeah, but I'm very thankful because Drag Race has given me a lot of opportunities, and I think for me too, I was older when I went on the show, and so I knew what the opportunity. I knew it was an opportunity. So if other things came, I seized them, and I also knew that I'm not the youngest, coolest queen, and so I had to make opportunities for myself.
Can you imagine it's been 14 years since you first hit TV?
I know. Well, 15 since we shot it. So yeah.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, and I'm just listening to my voice, and I think it's a drag. I just sound like Kathleen Turner right now.
It's like Kathleen Turner. It's like B. Arthur. It's like Brenda Vaccaro. It's like all
hey,
of that
everybody.
sexiness. Like,
This is my sexy post-DragCon voice.
Pussy Willow. How have you changed the most in these 15 years?
Well, I wear more makeup now than I did on season 2, and I don't always have a shake and go wig on. Although this one's a little bit, but that's because DragCon.
It's giving me Kathy Griffin vibes.
I can't glue a wig on because DragCon I did, and it ripped my skin off on my forehead.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I have to do some.
And that wasn't even the most
wigs.
dramatic thing that happened at DragCon.
Yeah, and so yeah, and I think that I think honestly, like through therapy, I'm like a little calmer. I'm a little more, I don't know, like I'm becoming a better person, and also because I'm a lady of a certain age, I am. And I'm forcing myself, like I'm really like, because when they say you hit a certain age and you don't give a fuck what people think. Yeah. Like I'm forcing myself to go, this is it. This is where we want to go. We do not need to care about what everybody else thinks. Yeah.
And it's refreshing.
It is, because it's there sometimes. It's definitely not there all of the time. But
well, and then you put out this album that kind of retells your whole life story, and look how it blew up.
Yeah, well, with the album, I did a Kickstarter. I got funded in 3 days. And so I was like, well, these people believe in me. I have the money. I can do it. And then Brandon came aboard, and then really was like, yes, he is here. He believes in me. He's also been dependable because I've had several projects where people were on board and then they just disappear.
Yep.
And it was in the back of my mind, like, please don't, because I really think you're a great person. And he never did. And
he's great. We worked on Vakaya Cruises together on their debut cruise.
Yes.
He's the only piano player, musical director. He could be wasted off of his mind, and then he steps behind that piano and he puts on a show. And I'm like, girl, how are you standing? We've been drinking all day.
He is amazingly talented. He has an amazing voice. He's
so sweet,
very nice in the eyes. And yes, super nice. I've known him for a long time. We got drunk in P-Town one night together. That's where we really started bonding. But then he sent me a picture because he lived in Rochester for a short period of time and worked, I think, at the Downstairs Cabaret Theater. And then he finally found the picture of when we met, because I think I had just gotten on Drag Race. And he lived in Rochester for like 6 months. But he's great. And it was really him that kind of believed in me and made me go, hey, I can do this, baby. Sorry, that's my drunk.
That was great.
that was
I
great.
can do this. I can do this.
Gorgeous.
Also, I did write some lyrics when I had some cocktails, and that's when I was like, just go deep, girl. Go deep.
Truth is in the alcohol. Hello. Okay, let's talk about your husband. You didn't really talk about him early on, and your private life kind of stays your private life. How did you guys meet? Because you've been together for a long time.
Yeah, 18 years.
Wow.
Wow. He was on
That's unheard of.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He was on a date with one of my friends.
You homewrecker.
No, it was like
I
a
support
loose
that.
date. It was, yeah.
He was loose?
No. Oh, he was, because
Slid right on in there.
No, we went to we were at this place called the Bug Jar in Rochester. It was like a bisexual hipster bar, and this guy Houston Bernard was like, he made all these funny raunchy songs, and he was coming there and perform. And so my friend Lewis and I really liked him, and we're like, let's go see him. And they had said something like the show was starting at 9. It didn't start till like midnight, so we were wasted. And then Ian came in with a friend of ours, and I don't know, I thought he was really cute, but kind of young. And then at a certain point, I was like, I want to kiss him. And then I just like, hey, everybody should make out with Ian. And then we did, and I was like, fine. But then at some point, he gave me his number, and he pursued me, and he came over because he was like an electrician's apprentice and like his tool belt, white t-shirt,
like his ass crack hanging out,
acting like he's so butch.
That was fresh.
Bless his heart. He does very butch things. He's like a butch lesbian.
That's why it's been 18 years, right?
Yeah, but no, I mean, I definitely couldn't have done all the things I've done, and definitely not moved out to LA without his support.
Well, and he's been around for this whole whole ride.
And I did talk about him in Drag Race. They just never. They decided no.
So how do you maintain? And this is a question I got asked a few times: is how do you maintain a healthy marriage when we know drag queens need their diva moments? We know, like we said, the house is going to be devoted to shoes first and wigs over pots and pans. There's a lot of give and take in dating a drag queen. So how do you maintain a healthy relationship? And plus, your fans feel that they own you. Media feels that they own you. Drag Race feels that they own you. You're giving your pieces of yourself away. What happens at home? How do you make that healthy at home?
Yeah, well, I went by the advice of Dolly Parton, who they asked her advice on how she stayed married to Carl Dean for like 40 years. And she's like...
Did you see pictures of him when he was young?
Yeah.
Damn.
And she said, stay gone. So I was gone a lot. So that helped. And...
that means that there's a lot of trust there. There's a lot of communication then.
But it also, like, he would call me out on things, like when I would come home and I was just exhausted, like when in the height of being gone, and then I was bitchy to him, and he called me out on it, and I went, oh, wow, you're absolutely right. Like, I just need to go in this closet and scream, put myself back in the closet and yell, or find some other way, because I can't take it out on him.
I can't even get to date number 2. Are you dating anybody?
I've been in a relationship for almost 10 years.
Shut the front door.
Help! Blink twice
I
if you
didn't
need
know
help.
that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this person.
He's always around. He makes all the outfits. So he made
Get
this.
out!
Yeah, so it's like the family business. I model it and he makes stuff for everyone.
Well,
monkey
Ian
bitches,
does
I can't even
not
get
make
it.
outfits or wigs. And
That's
he's always
the
like,
next
I'm
step.
sorry your husband doesn't make wigs like Morgan's or make outfits, but he can do construction. So he helps build my DragCon booths or sets. So he...
To me, that's like sexier. It's like, yeah, you sweat for me.
Yeah.
he does do things, and he's a good guy, and I'm not just saying that because he's in the room.
Yeah. Wearing probably the gayest shirt I've seen in a long time, by the way.
Oh yes, he came appropriately dressed in a shirt with my face on it.
I love it. All right, Dance is one of the first singles from the album, and Dance is an homage to that little boy who danced in his room to Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, Boy George. It's a bop for sure.
Thank you.
But it must have been a little bittersweet having to revisit some awkward points of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there are definitely moments I cried when I was writing things, and there's definitely the bridge in that song when I first heard it, when it was done, it makes me cry because it is literally me speaking to my younger self who felt so alone and so trapped and didn't understand what everybody was saying because it was a different time. And also my family didn't know anything about, they didn't know any gay people, they didn't know anything about it because my mother was very supportive, but she's also admitted, she's like, I didn't even really know anybody that was gay. And so yeah, it's good though. I feel like you can listen to the song and you can hopefully like dance and have fun, but if you want to go a little deeper and really listen, you can.
So this is when I first listened to your album, I was like, oh yeah, boom, 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 and I'm around the house and I'm cleaning and I'm, sending sassy text messages and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, is that what that lyric was? And then looking at the lyrics, you are an amazing lyricist.
Thank you.
I mean,
actually, I have to say, that's what Brandon... Did I say this already?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
3
sorry.
times.
I
No.
have done... I am sorry. I have done a few interviews and I'm trying to not repeat. I'm trying to give different anecdotes. And I was like, wait, never mind. I did say that.
No, it's...
Also,
it's
this is what my husband calls me out. He's like, I've heard that story. You already told it 5 times tonight. Stop telling that same story.
But it's an important story, and the lyrics are very smart, and it makes you think. It's like, oh, number one, that rhymes with that? Okay. In fact, we're going to take a little sneak peek at Dance. Watch the full video. It's on YouTube. It's the first music video from Boxx. But let's take a little peek, and the lyrics are there, too, so take a gander.
Don't keep those feelings deep inside. I never think that you should hide. You are worth it, though you can't see the spotlight. You deserve me. Don't keep those feelings deep inside. I never think that you should hide. You are worth it, though you can't see the spotlight. You deserve me. Dance like no one's watching. There's no time for maybe to dance like no one's watching. Maybe footloose and questionably free. Sometimes all you can do is dance. Sometimes all you must do is dance. To dance. Da 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 da. 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 To dance. Da 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 da.
So, number one, we just have to say, you look so gorgeous.
Thank you.
100%. That is totally a Cyndi Lauper video if she was making a video today.
Oh,
I mean, right? With the crowd and
I
everybody
love
dancing
Cyndi
and the
Lauper.
diversity and all of that. Well done.
Thank you. I love Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
I also got to interview Cyndi Lauper for that magazine.
I interviewed her last month for Pride.
She's wonderful.
She was washing the dishes while we were talking.
Oh,
I'm like, girl, can you
was
put the dishes down?
in an airport going through, and then she's like, at one point, I had all these questions I didn't get to ask. Then she was like, "Oh, I got to go through security." She's like, "Oh, you take this off, you take your shoes off." She's like, "You feel like you should get a kiss afterwards." And I was like, "And scene." And then I went, "How am I writing this?" I'm like, "I'm just gonna." I figured it out.
That's what I felt, because I felt like Frankenstein piecing, because she would go off on tangents. I'm like, girl, what are you
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
And then I thought her voice was a little affected, and I thought, oh, that's her brand, and so that's how she really talks.
Yeah. I didn't feel it was so, when I did, it wasn't as, I've watched older clips, and I was like, oh, she was really playing it up, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is she so unusual?
Yeah. But I watched her documentary, which I recommend this
I need to see
documentary
it.
to everyone. You have to.
I need to.
It is so good.
I love her so much.
But she talks about the struggle, and when she put out Girls Just Want to Have Fun, it was a huge flop. And the label said, well, only 6 radio stations in the nation are playing it. We're going to pull it after 2 weeks unless you can figure something out. So she did this whole marketing plan herself. So she did all the wrestling shows.
Right.
Yeah. And that's how the song became a hit. And then they're like, okay, we'll release Time After Time. She wanted Time After Time to be first. Anyway, I could talk about her all day. She's so fabulous.
She is.
Okay, let's get to some of these questions. Well, I still want to talk about the album because it is so fabulous. What was your creative process? Were you scribbling things on a napkin? Did you light candles and then at your computer like Carrie Bradshaw? What was happening? And why this? Because you have released parodies, you've released singles. This is the full story. Why now?
Well, because I don't know. I've thought about mortality a lot because I'm laughing, but I've lost a lot of family and friends. And also I was kind of thinking of legacy things and what I wanted to leave behind. And I was like, well, I kind of want to do something that's not just about poop, or penis, or cooter.
Or like you said, nails and heels.
Yeah. And I had fun doing all those songs and those videos. And
Which
I
also
just
did
was
very well.
like, yeah, the album took twists and turns of where it was going to go. And it really was Brandon that encouraged me. And the first one that I wrote was Pill. And when I wrote that one and he came back with the demo, I went, wait, did I write that? Like, because it was so good. And Brandon's got such a great voice that I was like, can I just use your voice on the album? But it just, when he wrote it and came back with it, that's what really made me go, oh, all right, this is it. This is the direction I should go in. And so it was just different things. Like there's a song about like ageism and getting older. And it was just whatever kind of came to me. And sometimes I write in the car and I have to make voice memos. And then I would send him voice memos, or at some point we set up a FaceTime every week. So we would FaceTime and we would talk about things. He's like, I just want you to read it to me. And he just got me. Like he got the direction I wanted to go. When I said these things, he got what I wanted to do. And then I was really obsessed with sea shanties because of like the Wellerman.
Shut the hell up. Do you
like,
know how obsessed I've been this year with sea shanties?
Yeah, I put a whole playlist together, and like when it was a big viral thing, it's like the Wellerman.
Sea shanty.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like what sailors and pirates, like when you go to Pirates of the Caribbean and they're like, yo, yo.
Oh, okay.
But it tells
word.
like some sad, weird story.
So I wrote one, and it's called Scurvy. And I was like, well, people will think it's about Carol Channing, and there is a song about
raspberries.
Yes, that's my farewell to my Carol Channing impersonation.
Is that really the end?
I mean, if somebody wants to pay me a lot of money, no. But I kind of just like, I want to appreciate it, salute it, but I don't really want to do it anymore.
I feel like you're in the next echelon of your career. This album, I think, is a huge statement. And the fact that it was so successful, I think is like telling you, yes, okay, now...
I hope so. And yeah, with Scurvy, that was the one that he came back with like this really like peppy kind of thing. And I was like, no, that's not it. And then I sang it to him. I was like, this is just my pirate song. I always wanted a pirate song. And also it's really about the Goonies. Like it's really about me as a kid watching the movie Goonies and really
over.
We had like a big backyard and this forest behind it and really hoping I would find some kind of treasure or go on this Goonie adventure. Because I talk about One-Eyed Willie in the song. Yep. And I was like, and it was like a line that it was harder to fit it in with musically, but it eventually worked. But yeah, it's kind of like, yeah. So a lot of these songs are songs about childhood and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I'll be honest, my life's all right. My life is good. I have a good husband. I have a house. I have a dog. I'm good. So there's not really like there's not that pain to get with some music that makes it powerful. So I'm like, so I went back.
But you've been through a lot to get to that point. And I think a lot of the younger queens don't get that. I know you are a hustler. You're a hard worker. Some people literally think that Drag Race is going to knock on their door or that just being on Drag Race is going to make their life. And it's like, no. Oh. That will give you a step, but you got to do the rest of the work.
And I feel bad for some of the queens that get on now because there's so many seasons that I'm like, girl, unless you really have something ready, it's going to be gone so quick. And
if you were to ask me who was on 2 seasons prior, I wouldn't even be able to tell you who won or who was on.
I mean, the song Laugh that I wrote, it's kind of my redo of my my verse on All-Star 6.
Because you weren't happy with that.
Oh, no. I mean, I have to say that when I went back, they kind of pulled me back to kind of like check and do things because they do really want it to. They're not really trying to make it sound terrible, especially on All Stars. On the regular season, they're all about whatever, but on All Stars, they really don't want you to be miserable, like kind of, I guess. And they knew it didn't I was happy with the lyrics, but when I did it, my delivery, and you only have like 10, 15 minutes to do this. And I got flustered, and then I was like, ugh. And when we had a rehearsal, that's when I was going to leave. And Raja O'Hara came up to me, grabbed me by both my arms, looked me in the eyes, and was like, you're good. We got this. I got you. We're good. And Raja O'Hara was really like my rock in that.
That's amazing to hear.
And Trinity was good. Like, Trinity also saved me, but it was like we were good. I had people that were like,
That was fresh.
and Raja and I were
I like to hear stories like that.
Raja and I were coming on for the same reason, because she was bitchy, or she did not come across well in her season. And I had met her before briefly, and I thought, oh, she's lovely. But that's when we really became like friends. Like, I was like, oh, this is my bitch. We got each other. We're here for this. We're here to prove that we're not absolute cunts.
Perfect. And I love how your voice is getting lower and lower, by the way. Do you notice that?
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Girl, you're going to be a power top in 2 seconds. Okay, let's get to some of the fan questions again. What has been a personal major obstacle that you've overcome in your career that was kind of a turning point for you?
I think, especially with this album, it was like believing in myself and believing that I could do it. And
it's a huge gamble. Like we said, everybody's putting content, even if it's great content, there's so much noise out there.
Yeah, and I will say that I'm proud of this album. I like it, and I hope that people like it and all this. But at a certain point, I'm like, I'm good. Like, this is what I wanted to do, and I'm happy with it. And I can actually listen to it, and like, I don't cringe. I'm like, no, I like this. I had to, because I was like, girl, I have to do some things live. I need to learn my own lyrics that I wrote.
And you have some interesting lyrics. Like, they're very flowery, and
yeah, there's a couple. Like in Dance, I was like, wow, why did you write this so fast?
Okay, this is a fun question. Sometimes in drag, a queen takes gigs that they don't want to do, but they got to pay bills. What has been one of the worst gigs you can remember?
Oh God, I had a bunch in my like stand-up act where I listed the worst gigs ever, and I guess one of them, I don't know if it's the same person working there, but it was the Gay World Softball Series. They were doing an event, and so they had me come and host for it. And
was it here in Los Angeles?
No, it was. Was it in Indianapolis or Chicago? I don't remember. But they had a host that had to be escorted off the stage because it was so offensive. And I was like, how are you so offensive at a gay softball event? Like, it's all gay guys.
This person to begin with.
Well, it was Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall.
He's one of my favorites.
I don't know. I'm going by what they said.
He's one of my favorites. What was so offensive?
So I don't know. I never even
you say
asked.
what he said exactly.
I don't know. I don't know.
Everybody clip it.
But I will say, because of him and because I was hired, everything had to be scripted. They had to know exactly what I was saying. The guy that was in charge wrote all these softball jokes for me to say. Leslie Jordan was there, who was great to meet him. And Ben, oh shit. He's like a rugby star, but he's straight, but he's a huge queer ally. Ben, it's fine. There's a picture of him somewhere. He was very nice.
God, Scott Thompson's like the biggest gay out there.
I don't know. I don't. To this day, I don't know what he said. I've never seen any video, but that's what they told me. And so it's in this huge place, and there's like a stage, like, is way on one side, and where all the guys are meeting, who literally, you know what they want to do. They just want to fucking hook up and sit at the bar. Yep. So they had me start talking, and I was so nervous, and because I was like, oh, I have to just stay on script. You know, I told some of those softball jokes. All of them bombed because they were terrible. And I should have just said what I wanted to say, because also they did give me the check before I went on stage. I literally should have said whatever the fuck I wanted to say. But then the DJ was there, and then the podium collapsed. And so all my note cards fell in the podium. And so then he came over to help hold up part of the podium, and he's kneeling there, and nobody can really say what it is, and I'm doing this whole thing.
My God.
And I'm flustered, and I'm like, this is such a horrible gig. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just bombing, and I shouldn't have listened to them. I should have just said anything. And in my heart, I knew nothing I would say was ever going to be that offensive to them. Like, I should have just started about sucking dick and grinder and all that shit. And then, then I met Leslie Jordan. He's like, oh my God, you look like Tori Spelling. I was like, oh.
Is that a compliment?
I was like, okay. But then I saw him years later. He was at the
Oh my God. TMZ even reported about it.
We got receipts.
Holy shit, I've never seen that. Now I have to.
Oh, he used the N-word.
Oh, the N-word.
Oh,
Yeah.
why the hell would you do that?
Well, that'll do it.
Like, I never really found out what it was. Okay, that was
Well,
it.
now we know.
Got
TMZ
escorted
was
off
there before all of
stage.
us.
Now you know if you ever want to leave work early, you just get on the mic. And
Just be
say
like,
that.
N-word.
But then I saw him at the gay Starbucks that's not there anymore in WeHo, and he was there.
Oh, he was there every morning.
Yeah, I was with
Every morning.
my friend Craig Ramsey, and we were there, and we were like, oh, let's
Craig
go.
Ramsey and Brandon.
Yes.
We're,
But I was with Craig, and so he's like, oh, there's Leslie.
he
Let's
and I,
let's go
come on.
say hi to him. And then he remembered me, and then I was like, oh, and he's like at that gig, and I was like, oh my God, do you know that like I felt so horrible? And he's like, oh, honey, those guys just wanted to like, I'm not even gonna try to do Leslie Jordan voice, but he's like, oh no, honey, they all just wanted to fuck each other. I cut my set short too. And I went, oh, it wasn't just me. It was a weird setup. It was just not conducive to that, and it made me feel better that Leslie Jordan was like, nah, I cut it short too.
But there are a lot of gay events that we go to, and they just want the name on the poster, and we want to see you, but like
They do.
they're busy doing like what you said.
Well, I would never agree to something that had to be like had such script supervision, or also I would say sure, and then I would just say what I wanted to say.
Okay, case in point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring back some of your history.
Uh-oh.
I was so nervous
Oh no.
because we didn't have rehearsal, whatever. So I worked with Fleshpot Cybersocket, and we had you for the Cybersocket Awards.
Oh,
I wrote
I
you
didn't
the
get-
lengthiest script. In fact, halfway through, you're like, there's too much. I'm not even going to say this shit. I'm like, and I'm in the audience, and my boss is in the balcony,
no.
and he's like,
you were like, we're never hiring her again.
no, me. You are
Oh.
fine. But you were like, who wrote all this shit? I'm like, me. Because
my
I wanted to
God.
give you just a lot of stuff to, but apparently
I'm
that was
sorry
the
because
wrong
I probably
thing.
got flashbacks and PTSD from that other gig where I was like.
That was funny.
Also,
though.
people kept giving me alcohol, so I definitely was like, I
Oh,
can't
yes,
read
we were all-
this,
yeah, but I
I
remember-
was like, it's porn awards. Let's just talk about dick and butt, guys.
That's literally what you said. You're like, who wrote this? You literally said, who wrote this shit?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
You're like, it's a book,
I
is
mean,
what
you
you said.
hired me too, and I was like,
And then
oh,
later in the show,
shit.
you're like, Stephen King wrote our script.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you had me on your show. So was it just to call me out? Like you've reached the point where you're like, let
I had
me
to wait till you were
publicly
liquored up.
Yeah.
shame
no, this-
her.
It's been
Shame. You're
2
Hannah
years in
Wanting
the
at
making.
me.
2
Shame.
years. I created the studio. I created this backdrop just to do this.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry I said it like that. I could have been nicer.
Oh,
Don't apologize.
But
it was probably
that's
very
why
long.
that's why people hire you to MC, because you are you. And what was that? But that's why people hire you, because you are you, and it's fun. My script was
Yeah.
terrible.
No, it was lengthy.
When you said Stephen King, I just about lost it. I'm like, because we know he wrote Spot.
Honestly, I don't remember, but yes, I know you're right. I do remember like going, oh my God, I can't read all this. I probably couldn't read it either. I
I
didn't have my
wouldn't be able to
readers
see it.
on, or
It would be just like
We gave you open bar too. So, okay, let's get through these. Who from Drag Race family would you consider you're the closest to?
oh, I mean, there's quite a few, like Angina, definitely, Mariah, Balenciaga, Latrice Royale. I always have to say it in Latrice's voice. I have to say Morgan because otherwise she'll probably hate Grimy. And I think it's the ones that I work with the most. So that like, I like a lot of them. Some of them are fine.
But,
And there's
like,
a few that I'm like,
you,
no.
Are you hanging out with them on a normal basis, or like you live your life, and then when it's drag race stuff, then you're like, okay, yeah, I like you, but it's not like you're hanging out with these queens all the time.
I mean, local shows I get to, and it is tough. Like I always want to have like get-togethers and stuff, but we're always working in different schedules, so it's hard. But no, I have definitely hung out. Like the queens I mentioned, I literally have socialized with and hang out with. So.
How is Michael most different than Pandora?
I just hit the microphone. I was just scared about that.
And you have a performance tonight too.
I do at Precinct DTLA, my album release party. I'm releasing.
We want you in WeHo though.
Mm.
You need to and Abby pop up.
Well, tell the
Abby better pick up the
I
fucking
will.
phone.
I will.
Hello.
I was like,
Hello,
I'm
Abigail.
Also, hey, WeHo, I'm available when you do these like All-Stars viewing parties and all this. They didn't hire me once for All-Star 6.
Everybody's talking so
Piss
loud. You're not
off.
even like. You're not missing that.
No, I just want the money. Wait, what was the question?
Oh, even I forgot. How are you the most different? How is Michael the most different than Pandora?
Oh, I mean, as myself, I'm definitely quieter and more reserved. And
Because I've seen you as boy, you are so quiet, right?
yeah, there's a.
But there's something happening behind the eyes, though, too. You're like,
Oh.
oh my God, are you going to read me? Because he's just like,
All right. So 18 years with my husband, and since he's sitting here and he's huffing, he's like,
not drugs. He's not huffing drugs.
No.
You can't say
He's
huffing.
always like, he's
Huffing
always
is like,
when I make a face, because I have resting bitch face, or sometimes I'm in a thought and my face is doing this, like, what are you thinking? I'm like, stop looking at me. He's like, well, I can't look at you. And it's like, I do get lost in my own
you guys
thoughts.
are so cute.
And yeah. And
you guys make each other laugh after all these years.
we do. And there's definitely a Pandora switch that I like in the back of my head, like a Stepford wife. I go, okay, now you're on. Now you're Pandora.
Yeah.
But, as myself, I'm just more like chill and boring.
What do you do after like a night of performing when you get home? Like, what's your ritual?
I call 911 and I said, there is a drag queen on fire in my front lawn. And then they come over and they hose me down. So it's a quick escape from drag. And
your husband's in the house, like, there she goes.
no,
again.
he just is he's sitting there like the nosy neighbor and looks out and goes, ugh, again.
Kravitz from Bewitched, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got this fan question. When are you going to do Edwina Monsoon from AvHub?
Oh, I have done her, actually. I not many people know this, but I was a pageant queen when you had to do pageants to get noticed.
Yeah.
And I've won several pageants. And unfortunately, one of the things about winning a pageant was I had to be in the Rochester Gay Pride Parade, which I'm like, ugh. Because I don't like sitting and just waving and going, oh my God, I won a pageant. And which is great if people
You
love
love
to do
the
it.
spotlight, be honest.
I do, but I'm like, I want to do something kind of fun. And so I had my friend, switch it. Sorry. I wasn't at Eddie. He was Cookie Crisp. She did Eddie and I did Patsy. And so we were in a limo and we were like waving
You
at
could
people.
do both of
And
them,
then we had the
100%.
limo stop and we were like, we're going to just slam on the front of, and we're like they did in the series, we were just like, slam it, slam it, slam it. But my friend Ambrosia Salad from Rochester did a really good Patsy. And I definitely did Adina for her in a number once or twice.
Well, I love that. All right, we have to wrap up, but there's so many different directions you can go in now. Now you know your albums are hits. We know your empire. How do you know where to go next in terms of what you want your next big project to be?
I have no idea. So if anyone would want to tell me, please let me know. Although I did do something that I always wanted to do, was I'm in a horror movie.
A top?
No, I am a top.
Topping. Well, Father's Day only comes once a year, darling.
I'm topping right now under the table. No,
How are you going to top yourself? You're doing it right now.
I'm in a gay slasher horror movie called Meat, and I think it's
AJ
coming out
Sloan
this
is
year.
in it, too.
Yeah.
He's one of my good friends.
And I've always wanted to be in a horror movie. When I was a kid, I wanted to be in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but I wanted to survive at least so I could do 2 films. But I'm in this movie, and it's
Michael, Pandora. I have always wanted to be killed in a horror film. Like, I ask every horror.
Well, I can't.
And meat is
I
sexy. It's
can't
gonna be
reveal
steamy.
anything in the movie, but it was
it's steamy.
fun. I'm this really bitchy landlord.
Do you own property in real life?
I do. I own a house, but I don't. I am not a. I don't. I would be a nice landlord. I wouldn't be a bitchy landlord.
I prefer
Unless it was
bitchy.
Jordan in my house,
Yeah.
then I would be a bitch.
You'd be like, another orgy, really?
I'd be like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
There'd be glory holes all over that house.
Now we're seeing drag queens on Broadway. What show would bring you to Broadway?
I do have several. Like, there's 3 roles that I keep every couple years. I post again to try to manifest it.
Let's do it.
I want to be Mrs. Clackett in Noises Off.
That's genius.
I want to be.
You're also showing your age too a little bit.
I know, but oh god, now I can't think of her name in Death Trap, the psychic in Death Trap. What is her name? Oh
No, but you're going like old school.
yeah, because they haven't been done in a while. Like
Yeah,
I
you're right.
Death Trap, the movie with Christopher Reeve and Michael Caine.
That's a really good idea.
And Diane Cannon is amazing. And Helga Tendorp.
That's a really good idea.
And they did the play in Rochester, New York, and my friend Robin and I went to the auditions and we did it. And I was kind of auditioning for the guy parts. And I realized a long time ago, I'm not a leading man.
You're adorable as a boy.
I'm the plucky comic relief. And that's I know that in my life and I'm good with it. And so when they said, hey, does anyone want to read for anything else? And I said, I'd like to read for Helga Tendorp. And I did it. And everyone in that, everyone that was auditioning was dying, cracking up. And they didn't cast me. And I was like, well, it's your fucking mistake because no one's going to see this play. But they would all come to see it if I did. I don't think they wanted to cast a
Why don't we make this
guy.
happen in L.A.?
And then I want to play Mrs. Peacock in Clue.
So we have the cast of Clue, the touring production, on this next week.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take away from Mrs. Peacock, but Eileen Brennan and the movie Clue, that's...
I mean, she was amazing, everything.
I mean, everyone was amazing in that movie. But the women in Clue made
What
that
about,
movie.
so one of your fans emailed and said, ask about Hedwig.
Maybe. My friend, when I wrote The Lipstick Massacre and my friend
Yeah.
David Henderson directed it.
And people don't know that you're a playwright.
Yeah, I wrote a play and...
You wrote a few, you wrote Katya's, or no, Katrina.
What?
You wrote
Who?
a whole play. Oh, shit.
Oh yeah, you wrote that play with the characters and the lines, and there's pages. You wrote
Wow, my God,
Yeah.
coming out.
that play. Oh,
Well, I
love that
wrote The
one.
Lipstick Massacre.
That one, yes.
But you wrote another play.
When I was a kid, but this is the one that actually
No,
got
but-
produced.
Okay, now I feel so embarrassed because I do so much research. Okay, anyway, continue.
Okay. And my friend David Henderson directed it. We did it twice in Rochester. It's a comedic murder mystery, and everybody wants to be a commercial actress or an actor in this fictional town called Flushing Hollow. And I
Even
play.
that name is brilliant.
Yeah, I played Daphne von Hossenpfeffer, who was the top commercial actress. And then people start dying around her, and then she's the number one suspect. And Kasha Davis played Lavinia. Oh, she has a long name now, but she played my mother, and she's only
That
like
was the
50
play
years
with
later.
Kasha Davis.
Yeah, Lipstick Massacre.
You were onto something.
Oh, maybe you're thinking Mrs. Kasha Davis,
Yes,
international housewife,
yes.
celebrity.
Because you wrote, directed.
which was a video.
I knew
Yes,
I
yes,
wasn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Do you see me start sweating? I literally, because I
No, I
never
did that.
wrote in
I
my
did that. I
research.
wrote that because I loved.
I pulled up your mugshot, but I
I
didn't
feel
share it
like-
because I'm a gentleman.
I feel like
I
I'm
wanna
really
see
good
it.
at writing for, I got Kasha Davis's character, so I was good at writing that. And she was in that play. We did it. And it's also like Clue. There were 3 different endings, and the audience voted on who the killer was,
Almost
which
like Edwin Drood, too.
which is exciting. But also when you're in it because I was in it. And then you're like, holy shit, who are they going to call? And then all of us are trying to remember our lines because everyone else's lines are the same, but it's except the killer's changes. And there was one character, Godfrey, who was the son, who had never been, because you always felt bad for him because he was always picked on. And then I think her friends, because it was played by a woman, and her friends were there and they voted for her. And she was like, shit, what are my lines? I've never had to do them. So it was fun.
And it's almost like a Mystery of Edwin Drood with Betty Buckley. And she would hit belt, a high E, belt. But nobody ever picked her character. So she's like...
Yeah. I was going to redo it. Like I started rewriting it because we wanted to travel with it, but I had too many characters. So I was trying to get the characters down. And then the pandemic hit. But I did talk to Kasha and she's still interested. So I think I might go back and rewrite it and
Girl, let me help.
Condense it.
Yeah, okay. Magic. All right. It has been such a full conversation. Jordan, do you have any more questions for...
Just why?
Just why?
Yeah,
why
just why?
are you
And
here?
didn't read my email. I emailed about girth and length, and that didn't get included in the episode. I'm just wondering.
Are you really a top?
Girth and...
Oh, your husband left, so...
Oh.
Well.
Yeah, when you've been together that long, no one's ever anything for, you learn, you get it. My boyfriend said he was a top when we met, and that was the funniest joke he's ever told.
I don't know how to answer this without really incriminating myself for certain parties and things, but yes, I'm a verse.
Yeah, have another drink.
I'm a verse top.
Verse top. Okay.
Yeah, verse is in.
Well, that's what your grinder says, and most people, their positions are not what their grinder says.
Well, most
Do you
people...
have a grinder?
Yes.
Do you really?
Yeah, because
Is it as
sometimes
Michael
I
as
like
Pandora?
when I'm traveling, I'm just like, you're just in a hotel bored, and I'm like, I'm gonna just look.
It's fun.
Networking. I love that label on Grinder, by the way.
Yeah,
Networking.
who on there is?
Yes,
Yeah, we're
I'm
definitely
networking.
networking. No, you're not. Networking in your butt.
Yeah, networking that dick in your mouth.
Have you ever hooked up in drag? I got this 10 times.
Yes, back in the day. Not in a very, very long time because I used to work at a bar that had a lot of straight guys there.
Straight guys love.
And
their
I
drag.
would change and I started to wear well, then I didn't have that much makeup on. And I was like, oh, these guys that would have picked on me in high school want to sleep with me now. And
It's
so
kind of
I
empowering.
hooked up with a lot of straight guys. And then this one, Shirley Divine was her drag name. And she was always like, well, I gave her that name because her name was terrible before. And I'm like, your name should be Shirley
Was it
Divine.
Jordan?
No, and then
Hi, it's me,
she's
Shirley.
like, she's like, oh, I just want to be like you. I want to hook up all these straight guys. I was like, they're all bottoms. She's like, no, that's not true. I was like, girl, they're all
Yes.
Are.
bottoms.
It's
all
so
of them.
weird.
And then she started hooking up with them. And she came back and she said, you were right. I'm like, did you think I was lying to you? You think I was just trying to keep them for myself? Because at that point I was done with it. I was like, no, it's too much work to hook up in drag.
It sounds awful.
We
I
have
was
talked about everything, by the way, and I love this show. I'm so glad we have another drinker on the show. What is your message to your fans?
Buy my album, Boxx, available everywhere. If
So
you buy it on
motivating.
iTunes,
Thanks for giving us a motivating.
I'll get more than a penny.
And the artwork is gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. David Laffey did the artwork, and then my friend Barry Scotland made it smoky, because David was like, I don't know how to do that, and then
It's brilliant.
another graphic
The textures
designer.
are so rich. Look how rich that texture is. Like I can feel the material.
Well, another graphic designer really failed and did not come through because he was not returning my messages, and I had to have it done. And so my friend Barry Scotland stepped in and said, I can do it. And probably did a better job and did an amazing. So I'm very thankful.
Power partners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's great. I've known him for a long time. He's a great graphic designer if anybody is interested.
Perfect. Jordan, what's your message to your fans?
I love you both. I'll see you when I get home.
I swear to God, if you go see Jordan
Oh.
anywhere,
My God.
Somebody please
his
come see
sense of
me.
humor is so no, but his sense of humor is just so funny and so biting. It's like, this is what I want from the drag world.
It's so good, and it's also like sometimes it's similar to me, where it's like you said it very so monotone too.
Yeah,
like, I
I'm
like
very
to think you
deadpan.
both.
Very dry.
I like to, I try to feel like I'm like the older.
I like dry
the
humor,
newer,
not anal sex.
Yeah. I don't do anal because I'm saving myself for this weekend.
On that note, where can we find and follow you?
You can go to my website.
Your website's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. PandoraBoxx.com. There's 2 X's in box because the extra X marks the spot.
I'm waiting for that third X, OnlyFans.
No. You
Would
know
you
what,
ever
though?
do an OnlyFans?
You know, when I first did a Facebook profile, I had to really like prove that was several times because I think
Remember
they thought
when
I was
Facebook
porn.
Yep,
Like
yep,
they,
yep.
like I had 2 X's, and I was like, no.
Would you ever do
3 was
OnlyFans?
overkill. What? I don't know if anyone would pay for that.
Just
but-
like a foot thing.
Yeah, you could do feet.
just a foot.
With the heels. No, that's huge.
You could do
Foot things
feet,
are huge.
yeah.
Just like
Oh.
step on a cake or something.
If
Yeah.
I
That
could,
gets
if
so much
people would pay
money.
me
Well.
to step on a cake in my heels,
There's a market. Am I wrong?
There's
Yes.
a fart
Feetfinder.com.
niche. You could do farts. There's a fart niche.
I don't need to hear all of that. Girl,
Oh,
you
that
could
corner
find
of
your
Twitter.
second dance album on feetfinder.com.
all right. Well, I guess I'm selling my feet.
How lucrative.
Jordan, where can we find and follow you?
I'm at Jordan Jayro everywhere. Please go. I'm doing my DragCon coverage right now, and it's a lot.
It's so funny.
And
but
we-
it's really, really funny.
Yes,
And
it
we
is.
talked.
We talked at
Yeah.
DragCon. Yes,
She's one of the ones I'm like, I can't leave without seeing Pandora. I can't leave without seeing.
and she was like,
a
"Oh, I'm
handful."
definitely not using this. Interview was boring."
Well,
Girl,
It
it's
was
never
so
boring
hot.
hanging out with you. Ever.
baby, no.
No, and she had an amazing outfit too. I loved her outfit that she wore with a little tie and like.
I
the
love
pants that were-
clothes. It's like my,
It's really
it's like
good.
my thing.
It was like big business. Her outfits were like big business.
yes, that was
Oh,
on the
yeah,
mood
yeah,
board.
yeah.
It was very like 80s news anchor.
I saw the video of the
Dynasty.
first one, but I saw the second.
Do you know that Goldie Hawn was cast first in Big Business in Bette Midler's role? And then she pulled out of the movie.
I don't know if I did know that. And I love Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn's somebody that I based Pandora. Like it's like, I want to be like pretty and goofy.
Done. Overboard. Yes. Right? Yep.
Yeah.
Your husband agrees. Okay. Shout out to Spirit Airlines. Get your shit together because we need friends that need to go home. I love that. That's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here every weekend on The Rocks. Big thank you to our engineer and station owner, Tony Sweet. Our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have members of the touring production of Clue. Taylor Armstrong from Real Housewives of OC and Beverly Hills is coming, and she's spilling tea, and her NDA did expire, so she's going to tell some stuff.
I know I have to look that up when it expires because then I can write my tell.
Yeah, I think it's like 2
But you're right.
years
It's in,
finale.
no, but it's, the themes are in perpetuity.
Mm.
Yeah. We also have Glenn Rotman, the world's most recognized certified celebrity hypnotherapist. He's going to try to hypnotherapy me. Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue bringing this fabulous programming coming your way for free. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. And if you drink, stay tipsy. This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.